Hi, review time again. Doing something a little bit different today. I've recently finished a book called The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and it has affected me quite deeply, and I really want to share and recommend it with you today. Um, this is at least one of the covers. There are many variations of what this book actually looks like, but it is by the always excellent Neil Gaiman, of who I've not read enough really. I've read some of his comic book stuff, some of the Sandman stuff. I've read Stardust, The Nancy Boys, um, The Graveyard Book, um, and I'm sure some others which are currently escaping my attention. And of course, he's got a new TV series on Amazon Prime coming up called American Gods, which again is based on a book that has been very heavily recommended to me, but I haven't yet read. But anyway, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. It's a book that has made me cry quite a lot, actually. It deals in his... Neil Gaiman has fables and he tells fantastical stories that are nevertheless grounded in very real world emotion um, and circumstance, but in some ways have a very almost dreamlike and very personal quality that makes them very touching and involving, and in some cases horrifying, or deeply disturbing. But it's all in a very real and very personal way. Um, he does things with his words which just take you back to a time and place. And someone very recently, when I said that I'd enjoyed this book, said that his books have a way of finding them at the right time. Um, and any good book should do that, but Neil Gaiman's books tend to tap into some unconscious thought or some sense of feeling of times past or an event in your life and latches on. And so The Ocean at the End of the Lane is in some ways quite a simple childhood story, but it's told through remembrance, and therefore there's a certain sense of distrust, however simple the story is. But it doesn't shy away from real world horrors such as death or the passing of friendships or fear, and it's beautiful in its own way, and something that I can't quite recommend enough. As I said, it's touched me very very deeply at the time. I'll read just a small part from just the end of the prologue. It's it's still, even thinking back on it, it affects me now, and certainly a passage at the end of the book as well, which I won't go into because we get into spoiler territory, really hit me. But the pond was smaller than I remembered. There was a little wooden shed on the far side, and by the path an ancient, heavy wood and metal bench. The peeling wooden slats had been painted green a few years ago. I sat on the bench and stared at the reflection of the sky and the water, at the scum of duckweed at the edges, and the half-dozen lily pads. Every now and again I tossed a hazelnut into the middle of the pond that Letty Hemstock had called... It wasn't the sea, was it? She would be older than I am now, Letty Hemstock. She was only a handful of years older than I was back then, for all her funny talk. She was 11. I was... What was I? It was after the bad birthday party. I knew that, so I would have been 7. I wondered if we had ever fallen in the water. Had I pushed her into the duck pond that strange girl who lived in the farm at the very bottom of the lane. I remembered her being in the water. Perhaps she had pushed me in too? Where did she go? America? No. Australia. That was it. Somewhere a long way away. And it wasn't the sea. It was the ocean. Letty Hempstock's ocean. I remembered that. And remembering that, I remembered everything. And it continues, and it's fable, it's fairy story, and it's childhood and memory, and the courage that can be found in all those things. And it's worth a read, and please do check it out and read it. Thank you for stopping by.